Okay, good evening. Let's go ahead and let's get started. My name is Atik. In this session, we will go through retail lecture and summarize spoken text. Before we discuss these two topics, I just want to quickly take you through to how the entire exam pans out. So overall, you'll be solving 20 different kinds of question item types. And these 20 question item types are actually divided into 4 different modules. You've got speaking, writing, reading, and the listening modules. Okay, these are the 4 modules. That's the sequence of them. Your speaking module has 5 question items. Your writing part has 2, reading part has 5, and then listening part has 8 question items. However, the level of contribution is not limited to the number of questions that are part of the section, because in P.T.E we have something called transferable scoring. So what that means is a certain question item can generate scores towards 2 different modules. So let's say, for example, a question item can generate scores towards speaking as well as listening, speaking as well as reading. A question item can contribute scores towards your writing as well as reading, or writing as well as listening. Okay, so I just want to quickly share my screen with you and just show you this interactive scoring guideline. So if you go to the Live Class Portal website and you just go on to this interactive score guideline, okay, and you can play around with it and get lots of information from here. So for an example, if I click on reading, you can see all the questions that are associated with the reading score. So you did have 5 questions on the reading part, but on top of those, you had read aloud, which is part of your speaking. You have summarized written text, which is part of your writing, plus the 2 questions, which are part of your listening module that generates scores towards your overall reading. Okay, so your objective is to learn about these connections, okay, as you progress through these lecture classes. All right. The topics for today, which are retail lecture and summarize spoken text. So as you can see, retail lecture is a question which is part of your speaking module, okay, and summarize spoken text is part of your listening module. So these 2 questions, the way they work is that you'd be listening to a recording, a small lecture. That lecture could be some kind of, let's say, a news report, or it could be some investigative report. It could be certain research report, or it could be some, discussing some issues or problems, and then sort of someone making some sort of claims. So whatever the recordings are, it may come from different backgrounds, but your objective is to listen and understand what they're saying, find out some important points from them, and take notes of those important points. Retail lecture, it would involve you in retelling those notes, speaking back those important points. And summarize spoken text would be to summarize or write a summary report using those notes. So the common denominator here is that both of these 2 questions contribute scores towards your listening module. Okay, I would also like to show you the degree of contribution towards your listening module for these 2 questions. So if I just again go back to the P.T.E materials right here, that is where you will find out the level of contribution. Now, you should also understand that in P.T.E, not all the 20 topics are equally important. There is a degree of contribution, a weightage that is associated with every question, okay? So some questions have higher level of contribution, some have lower, okay? So on your P.T.E materials, we have this scoring matrix, which highlights or which gives you this information, okay? So right here, it says P.T.E scoring matrix. If I open it, and I just want to quickly move to the listening part right here. So as you can see from this screen, we're discussing retail lecture and summarize spoken text. So together, they contribute to maybe 35 to 40% of your listening score. So that's a lot, all right? It's a lot of scores stemming out of these 2 questions. You also have to consider the fact that these 2 questions, especially retail lecture, tends to be very difficult, okay? Or let's say that's what the students say, all right? They find retail lecture to be arduous, okay? So you have 2 objectives. Like any other lecture class, you have 2 objectives or 2 learning outcomes. Your first learning outcome is to understand how to solve these questions. So what are the marking criteria, okay? How does the system assess your scores? That's your first learning outcome, learn about that. Your second learning outcome should be to find out what are the strategies that you need to do well. For an example, in retail lecture, we will use some kind of templates. In summarize spoken text, yes, we will also use some kind of templates. How do we manage time? And what are the indicators of finding out important ideas, so on and so forth. So understand how the system marks your question and how to navigate with those. And at the same time, learn the strategies. Now, keep in mind, when you attend the lecture classes, some of the topics, they appear to be very easy. And you tend to immediately feel comfortable solving those questions, and probably you'd be immediately starting to get some good answers as well. Today may or may not be such of a day, because I know through the students' feedback, it is a bit tricky for you. So please try to absorb as much as you can. Do not be disheartened or demotivated. What I need you to do is simply to say, yes, I get it. I know what I need to do. Maybe I'm struggling, but I will eventually get there. So get the learnings, then you start to practice and practice and practice so that you can build your skills, okay? All right, I want to start off with written lecture. Written lecture is the fourth question item type on your speaking module, okay? You will be solving 3 to 4 written lecture questions. When you get to the written lecture question, this is how your screen looks like. You have an instruction written at the top. You've got 2 time bars over here. So one of them is going to say beginning in 3 seconds. All right, so as soon as you finish a describe image and you move to the first written lecture, this is how your screen is most likely to look like. And you have to be very much so ready. So within 3 seconds, a recording will start. Okay, a lecture will start. Okay, now that lecture may be accompanied with an image also, just like the one you can see on your screen. Not all the lectures might have it, but most likely some of the lectures will do. So if you get 3 to 4 lectures, maybe 2 of them will have images, even if all 4 of them might have images as well. But your job is to listen and pay attention to that recording and find out what the speaker is discussing and sharing, and take some notes of important points. The recordings would be anywhere between 40 to 90 seconds long for each lecture. Okay, and your objective is to understand and take some meaningful notes of about information, about 4 to 6 information. Okay, once the recording has finished, you will get a window of 10 seconds to kind of gather your thoughts and arrange your notes and probably finish taking your notes. After 10 seconds is over, you will hear a beep tone. So on your headphone, yeah, you'll hear a toot, that beep tone. When you hear the beep tone, it would be time for you to start retelling those notes that you've taken. Okay, the system would give you 40 seconds to retell your notes. Now, obviously, the expectation is that you don't just simply read aloud your notes, but you speak in sentences and you make a lecture, retell the lecture in a very coherent and meaningful manner. Okay. However, we don't want to be speaking for 40 seconds. What we want to do is a standard, and I want you to write this down, is we want to speak for 35 to 36 seconds. Okay. 35 to 36 seconds, that's the standard we want to hit. Okay. Now, why not more than that? Well, technically you can speak more than that. What we want to avoid is to speak for so long that we've spoken up until 40th second and the system has forced me to cut off. And if that's the case, then there's a problem. You lose marks simply because of 2 things. Number one, the instruction was to finish within 40 seconds. You did not finish it, so you'll be penalized. Secondly, it's a speaking task, and for every speaking task, at the end of every sentence, your tone has to drop. If the system all of a sudden let's say it cut me off, my tone was not able to drop, this is going to hamper your pronunciation scores as well. And think about it. If you cannot make all your points within the time, you'll have a point which is not complete. So it will be disregarded as well. Now, if within those 3 to 4 questions, if in one question you speak for less than 30 seconds, so let's say around 25 seconds or so, that's not a problem. That's not the end of the world. But the standard we're trying to hit is 35 to 36 seconds. Okay. So when you hear that beep sound, please make a note. You have to start speaking immediately within 1 second or so. And after you have completed your response within 30 to 35 seconds, please click next also. Do not wait for the system to take you to the next question. Okay. And that's it. You're going to have to solve 3 to 4 questions. Are we all clear so far?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the marking criteria for written lecture. Each question is worth 15 marks, 15, and these 15 marks are divided into 3 subcategories. Each category is worth 5 marks, and you have content, pronunciation, and oral fluency. In fact, for all the speaking task questions, minus answer short question, these are the marking rubrics. So you've got content, pronunciation, and oral fluencies. And oral fluency and pronunciation has 5 marks each for these subskills. And interestingly enough, the criteria are the same for the entire speaking section. So we discuss how should you be presenting and how should you be securing your speaking scores with the help of oral fluency and pronunciation through our Read Aloud class. So you must attend our Read Aloud class so that you can learn a bit more about how to secure maximum scores out of oral fluency and pronunciation. Your oral fluency and pronunciation is going to help you get your speaking scores out of written lecture, okay? And your content score is the notes that you take. If you have good notes, you'll get good content score, which will help you to get good listening scores. The better your notes are, the better your listening scores are out of written lecture, okay? So let's go ahead and let's just quickly look into, what are the respected requirements for oral fluency and pronunciation. So as I said, please attend Read Aloud class to know better. But for now, just keep in mind that we want to speak in a constant and natural speech rate, flowing smoothly and casually, and taking the necessary pauses at punctuations and in between phrases. We are not allowed to pause randomly, awkwardly, or repeat or false starts, or oversimplify our answer. Those are what aspects that would need to be present in your speech rate. Similarly, with regards to pronunciation, you must ensure that you are speaking clearly, you're stressing words according to their merit, and your tone is not flat, but rather it's being expressive. And you are following intonation at the end of a sentence, okay? To achieve these both of things, your objective is to speak in phrases, okay? So when you speak in phrases, things become much more simpler for you, okay? Things become much more simpler for you, and you make sure that you do not hesitate, mumble, repeat words, or have false starts, and stress words appropriately. Do you guys have any questions? I think all of you attended the Read Aloud class, yes? So essentially, it's a copy paste. In fact, the entire speaking section has to sound the same. Okay, just like your Read Aloud. Whatever the task you do, it is still you trying to demonstrate your speaking skills, oration skills. So make sure you're flowing smoothly and naturally across all the speaking tasks with your speed and loudness and clarity being the same. Okay. Any questions, guys, with the speaking expectations? All clear?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go ahead and let's talk about the content score, because that's a little bit tricky to get. Content are the points that you take notes of, okay? So according to Pearson, it tells us that in order for us to get good content score, we have to find out all the aspects, all the relevant points of the presentation, plus their respective aspects and actions. So we need to get some key points, plus we need to get their actions and aspects associated with them. So with the important elements and their actions and aspects, we need to build the relationships between them, develop the ideas, and come up with a conclusion. So similar to like what we did in a describe image. But in case of, or the difference between describe image and retail lecture is that in describe image, we only needed to locate the elements, keywords. But in retail lecture, the marking criteria says we need to not only get all the points, but also we need to get the aspects and actions. So you get action when it is a bit complete. It's a bit meaningful. When you get keywords, there is no meaning attached to it. So to explain what this means, I'm going to give you a simple, let's say, example I like to use, okay? So let's say I'm listening to a news. I'm listening to the headlines. And the headline says, good evening, these are the headlines for today. Over the last 24 hours, there has been 0 cases of COVID-19 in Australia. The total number of COVID cases since the very beginning in Australia is 10,000. Out of these, 8,500 people have already recovered. The total number of people who died due to COVID is 900. The government has not yet decided when they will open borders for international travelers. Okay, thank you. So that's what the news said. I was watching the TV and I was watching the news, and then I watched it. Let's say 5 minutes later, a friend of mine comes in and asks me, hey, Atik, you were watching the news. What did the news say? And I tell him, oh yeah, so over the last 24 hours, there hasn't been any cases of COVID in Australia. And the total number of people who died because of COVID is 900. And the government hasn't decided when they will open up the borders for international travelers. Okay, so that's all I tell to my friend. My friend like says, okay, yeah, fair enough. I understand whatever you've said. 10 minutes later, another friend comes in and asks me the same question and asks me, hey, I think you're watching the news. What was the news saying? And then I say, oh, the news said 24 hours. The news said 0 cases. The news said 900 people. The news said 10,000 people. The news said 8,000 people. The news was 24 hours. The news said international travel. The news was very informative. My friend is like, what the hell is that? There's just a bunch of words you said. It doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, so what point I'm trying to make here is that sometimes when you watch YouTube and try to prepare for retail lecture, or sometimes certain experts, they would say that try to grab as many keywords as you can from the lecture. But using common sense and using the analogy that I've just given you, to me, it doesn't make sense. Okay, if you try and grab keywords, and if you simply try to retail the lecture using the keywords, maybe there's going to be a content match, but there isn't much meaning right there. So that's not what I teach. That's not what I would recommend you to do. You can do it at your own peril, but that's not what I would recommend you to do. Okay, so what I would recommend you to do is make sure you get notes that are meaningful, that are complete, that are understandable. Nobody is asking you to grab the whole lecture. In fact, if the lecture is 2 minutes long, you only get 40 seconds to speak about it. So how can you take notes of everything? That's not even needed. In fact, they themselves told you have to find all the points of the presentation, not everything. Everything cannot be point. To make a point, there could be examples, there could be some descriptions. So we're not looking for those examples and descriptions, are we? We're only looking for the main points or all the points. Now, before we get to how to locate all those points, what we need to focus on is something that the students actually struggle with. And that is note-taking. Note-taking is a problem. What that means is, your ability to listen and simultaneously write is something that the students struggle with, because we are not reporters, we're not journalists, so we don't have any shorthand note-taking skills and so forth. There are degrees who teaches these sort of skills, and Pearson by default expects us to have this skill. So we're going to talk about some note-taking skills that's going to help you to achieve such quality. Okay, first and foremost, we need to make sure that our handwriting is very clear. It's clean, it's neat, it's understandable, and you can use them. Okay, all the notes that you write down. Make sure that you write down notes that are organized and that are very structured. So a good way to take notes would be to use bullet points. Okay, starting taking notes in the form of bullet points. What I mean by that is, let's say for an instance, I'm taking notes for retail lecture summarized spoken text. I would start with a slash right here, a dash. Okay, and then I would write my first note. Okay, once I've completed my first note, then I would start another bullet point, and then I will write down my second note. Once I'm done with that, then I'm going to write down my third note. Okay, so this gives you structure. This looks organized, and you can easily use these notes and move along smoothly. Otherwise, if you write notes everywhere, you might be disoriented, and you may not be able to take all notes which are complete and meaningful. Okay. You could also essentially be smart and annotate your notes or use some sort of sign language to become efficient. What I mean by that is, sometimes, let's say an important point could be the topic. It gets referred multiple times, and you may need to take notes associated with that. So for instance, let's say if the topic was introduced at the very beginning, what I would need you to, or I would recommend you to do, is maybe circle the topic, or maybe put asterisks beside the topic. And then the next time, let's say you are taking notes and you come across that topic again, and it is required of you to take notes, you don't need to write anything again. You simply just put circle, or you just put asterisks and continue to write the next few notes. That's called annotating. That's called using sign languages. It will help you. But most importantly, this is the deal here. Look, lectures will be longer. There will be plenty of sentences being spoken. You don't need to listen and understand everything, because you don't need to take notes of everything. Okay, so don't even try to smash and grab as many things as you can. That may not be meaningful, but you target, understand and target, and then you absorb that information and take notes and complete that. So what I have right now is a note-taking strategy that I share with my students, and provided you work on it, it works, and it will help you to take complete and meaningful notes. Okay, so what happens is this. Please stay with me, okay? This is very important. What happens is this, is when you are listening, for the purpose of taking notes, there are two activities. Number one activity is listening. Number two activity is writing. So you have to listen, you have to write also. However, this is what it is. You cannot do both together. Okay? When you are listening, you simply listen to understand. When you're writing, you simply write to complete the notes that you've understood. Let's talk about listening first. So from the very beginning, your job and objective is to listen carefully and understand. Genuinely try and pay attention and understand. Don't just hear some English words, but genuinely try to understand and grab what the speaker is trying to say. I'm going to make it a bit more simpler. Do not try to understand and absorb too many things at a time. Small, micro, okay? Go sentence by sentence, phrase by phrase, okay? You just keep in mind, you just need to grab something meaningful. You don't need to grab that many. You cannot do that. So as you understand sentence by sentence, if you are able to rightfully, carefully, and completely understand a sentence or a phrase, lock that down in your mind and start replaying it in your mind. So you have listened, you have understood, you have grabbed something. Then comes your second stage, which is now you recall that information back from your mind and convert it into notes. So you start writing. Now here's the deal, and this is the important part here. When you are writing your notes, you will not listen for any further information. So you have to build a mechanism, a wall, whereby you are just trying to recall back the information that you just absorbed and just simply focus on writing. Let the speaker continue to speak and say whatever he wants. You make sure you complete your notes. Once you have completed, then you switch back and listen for more information. Now, when you are writing, yes, the speaker is still speaking. You might think, oh, am I missing out? Do I still need, because I might be missing out on important points. Don't do that. Because if you do that, you will neither be able to complete what you started to write, neither would you be able to understand. So you will end up with just a bunch of words here and there. So this is the fight. This is the barrier. Two activities, they do not interact with each other. When you listen, you simply listen to understand. When you're writing, simply focus on writing to complete the notes. A good way to sort of focus even more so when you're writing is when you mumble as you write. So just repeat the sentence to yourself, maybe loudly also, not too loud, but at least mumble, whisper, talk to yourself so that you can recall that back. It's like a repeat sentence and write from dictation together. Once you've completed the notes, then you switch back and you start paying attention again. The speaker may continue to speak, so don't listen for everything. Stop, let the speaker start from another sentence, then you grab that information. Okay, all right. So let me give you a demonstration of what I mean by that, okay? Let me take notes for a recording. All of you just stay with me and just observe what I'm doing, okay? So let me just play a recording for myself. Where's the marker? Oh, yeah. All right. So just observe what I'm doing, okay? And let's say find out how am I I'm reacting as well, okay? Here we go. My body language has to say, okay?
The U.S. birth rate has fallen to a record low, says a new
U.S.
study.
birth rate has fallen to a record low.
Felt among immigrant women hit hard by the recession.
Rate
According to the report, the overall rate of birth for 1,000 women ages 15 to 44 fell by 8% between 2007 and 2010. Currently, the numbers are some of the lowest since records began in 1920.
Currently, the numbers are some of the lowest.
Many cite the recession of 2008 as a main factor to why births for the U.S.-born Latinas in particular have dropped so rapidly, as Hispanics have had larger percentage declines in household wealth than white, black, or Asian households in recent years. Meanwhile, another change in the American household. More singles.
More singles.
Data now shows that fewer adults in the country are married.
More
51% compared to 72% in 1960. And then Americans on average are getting married at a later age than ever. And in related matters, the phenomenon of adult professionals living with roommates well into their 30s and 40s.
Adult professionals living with roommates.
More common.
Adult
and not just in New York City.
Professionals.
And what could they mean for the nation?
Living with roommates. Okay, so as you can see, I don't have an awful lot. This is, let's say, technically, this is the standard. Okay, now you might be asking, let's say someone, maybe you were not paying attention to the recording. Okay, let's say you were not, and you're relying on me to inform you. Let's say you just walked in and you say, hey Atik, I was hearing you from next door that you were listening to one news report. Yeah, this is actually a news report. What was the news report about? I'm going to be like, look, man, the speaker said a lot of things. I couldn't grab everything, but I could grab that the US birth rate has fallen to a record low. And I can tell you that currently the numbers are some of the lowest. I can also tell you that there are more singles, 51% compared to 72%. I can also tell you that adult professionals are living with roommates. Yeah, sure. I suppose if I tell this to somebody, it would be to a degree meaningful. Now, let's say somebody else randomly comes in and asks me, hey, Atik, you are listening to this news report. What was the news report about? And then I say, oh, the report said US birth rate. The report said record low. The report said 5%. The report said Latinas. The report said currently. The report said more singles. The report said 72%. The report said other professionals. The report was very informative. I think that person will shoot me because it doesn't make sense anything at all. So rather than trying to be greedy, okay, trying to be greedy and just doing something that may not necessarily be meaningful, your objective is to look for quality. What's quality? Quality is completeness and understandability of your notes. Okay, the more complete your notes are, the better content match there is. I'm not talking about that you have to get everything to the T, full sentences. I'm not telling you that. You know, if grammar words articles go here and there missing, as long as the information can be conveyed to a degree, in a degree that is understandable, that's what you have done. You've done your job. Okay. Are you guys all understanding, and are you guys all with me of what I'm suggesting you guys to do?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So why don't you try this? Let me play the recording again for you. You do the same one. Take notes and see where you stand. Now, do not feel pressurized. Okay, to get more. Even if you have 1 or 2 notes today, I'm more than happy for you. Okay. So be ready with your pen and paper. And I am playing you the recording in 3, 2, 1.
The U.S. birth rate has fallen to a record low, says a new Pew study, with the biggest decline felt among immigrant women hit hard by the recession. According to the report, the overall rate of births per 1,000 women ages 15 to 44 fell by 8% between 2007 and 2010. Currently, the numbers are some of the lowest since records began in 1920. Many cite the recession of 2008 as a main factor to why births for the U.S.-born Latinas, in particular, have dropped so rapidly, as Hispanics have had larger percentage declines in household wealth than white, black, or Asian households in recent years. Meanwhile, another change in the American household: more singles. Data now shows that fewer adults in the country are married, 51% compared to 72% in 1960. And that Americans on average are getting married at a later age than ever. And in related matters, the phenomenon of adult professionals living with roommates well into their 30s and 40s is becoming more and more common, and not just in New York City. What's behind these social changes, and what could they mean for the nation's future?
Okay, now, guys, this is what I want from you right now. So I just, I'm requesting you to please unmute yourself, all of you. Durga, Nabina, Pallavi, please unmute yourself. Okay. Are you here, Durga? All right.
Yeah, hi.
And what I simply need you to do is do not try to retell the story for me, but simply read your notes aloud, one after the other. Okay. I'm trying to check whether you are able to fluently read your own handwriting or not. So no hesitation, no mumbling. We want to make sure that even though we are simply reading our notes, we are taking care of our oral fluency and pronunciation requirements. So here you go, guys. 3, 2, 1, read aloud.
The US
The
birth
US
rate has
birth rate
fallen
has
to
fallen
decline.
to
birth
record
rate
low.
has
Spanish has
Currently, the
largest
numbers are
percentage
too
of
low.
decline.
More
More
single
singles,
living
larger
61%
persons compared
percentage
to
of
70.
decline in
in
Adult
household.
professional
More
living with
living with
singles
women
women.
become
61%
more
to
popular.
72% in
What's behind
1960.
these social changes?
Americans are getting married in
Awesome, guys. Awesome. Well done. Thank you.
changes.
Oh, well done, guys. Pallavi, I think you need to hold your mic a little bit closer to your mouth. Otherwise, we will not be able to hear you. Okay. Same goes with Yusuf
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. Just hold your mic a little bit closer to your mouth, okay, so that we can hear you. All right. So what we did is we've worked on a note-taking skill. Ladies and gentlemen, going forward, this is what I need you to do so, okay? As you start taking notes, you need to work on taking notes in a complete and meaningful manner. By trying to do so, even if you have 2 notes or 3 notes today, I'm happy with it, because you're gonna start building up as you practice more. But from today itself, if your approach is wrong, which is you become greedy and just get a bunch of words, you might have more in volume, but they don't necessarily would mean that you have quality notes. Am I clear? So going forward, more meaningful, more complete notes. Okay. Now that we've worked on note-taking skill, let's actually talk about where should we focus on taking notes. So guys, I'm going to start with 2 basic areas. And the lesson that I'm going to use is the lesson that we got from summarize written text, okay? Remember in summarize written text as well, what we wanted to take notes was the topic itself, the topic statement, yeah? So the topic statement was usually addressed right at the very beginning, yeah? Similar scenario in summarize spoken text written lecture also, whereby because the recordings are short, the topic would always be introduced at the very beginning of the lecture, most likely in the first sentence. So what I need you to do is I need you to be very attentive at the very beginning of the lecture and take note from the first part of the lecture. Now you could work on taking sentence or phrase. What I need you to do is get the topic statement. Okay, that's your number 1 location to find main idea. Again, going by what we learned in summarized written text as well, the concluding statement of the speaker is very important. Yeah. So with regards to written lecture summarized spoken text, in almost all the recordings, the last statement usually is the speaker's final recommendation or future direction of that lecture's discussion. So you will have to take note of the last point of the lecture. Okay. Now, this is the deal, and this is what coaching and this is what, let's say, understanding the system helps you with, is that from the very beginning, the first sentence or the first point, the topic, you could essentially get the phrase or the topic statement or the full sentence, but I need you to work to take, the last point as complete as you can. Our research indicates that if you are able to get the last sentence, that has double weightage, higher content match, higher content marks. Because think about it, if you can pay attention right till the end of the lecture and take note of that lecture as sentence as well, by the time you finish writing, it would already be time for you to start speaking, because you get 10 seconds. And then if you still speak nicely and flow with good flow, hey, it sounds good, plus you've got the last point. That's how you get the double weightage. Am I clear? So let's start with these 2. So what I need you to do is I'm going to play your recording. Your objective is to definitely take note of the topic statement from the very beginning and the last statement of the lecture. Once you have taken the note from the very beginning, don't just sit and wait for the end of the lecture, okay? Try and get 1 or 2 more points within the lecture as well. But I do need you to take note of the last point, okay? So let's go ahead and let's work on it, guys. So now we are working on trying to get as many or all the points as we possibly can, okay? So here comes a recording. All right. So be ready with your pen and paper. In 3, 2, 1.
Today, I want to discuss fossil fuels, such as coal, oil, and natural gas. The term fossil fuel refers to the trapped remains of plants and animals in sedimentary rock. You see, living plants trap energy from the sun by the process of photosynthesis, and they store the energy in their chemical compounds. Most of that energy is released when the plant dies and decays. However, sometimes organic matter is buried before it decays completely.
Organic
In this way, some of the solar energy becomes trapped in rocks, hence the name fossil fuel. Although the amount of organic matter trapped in any one growing season is small, the accumulated remains from millions of years are considerable. Because the accumulation rate is so slow, millions of times slower than the rate at which we now dig up this organic matter and burn it for energy, we must consider fossil fuels as non-renewable resources.
We must consider fossil fuel as non-renewable resources. You see, guys, I did an asterisk right here because I knew that this is what they're talking about. This is the topic, so I just crisscrossed it. So now that we have our notes, 1 second, guys, could I please just request you to unmute yourself and just simply read aloud your notes? Here we go. Durga and Pallavi also. All of us together in 3, 2, 1, read aloud. Today, I want to discuss
fossil fuels, sedimentary
Fossil
rocks,
fuels such as oil,
organic matter
living
is
plants
very
dies and decays,
energy from the sun,
organic matter is
sources of energy.
valuable. We
The
must
accumulated
consider
rate
fossil
is
fuel as a
non-renewable
consider fossil as a non-renewable.
Okay, thank you again, once again. Good job, all of you. I think you are getting some substantial and tangible notes. Well done. Now, what we've done, guys, so far is simply take care of, or we have tried to take care of all the points. So we got all the points, but what's missing here is the rest of the part of the content requirement, which is we have to now build the relationship between those points, develop the ideas, underlying development, and also come up with implication and conclusion. To do that, we need some kind of English language, right? Because our language has to demonstrate that there is a relationship building going on, there is development of idea going on, and there is a concluding statement. To do that, we have template for you, which is going to help you. Okay. Now, where are we here? So we've got the master template right here. I want you to ignore this because the master template you probably take help of when you're doing the summarized spoken text. I'm just simply going to fix a set of template language for you. So this is what I need or what I want you to use when you're doing summarized spoken written lecture. Okay. I'm also going to share the file. You can take a screenshot if you want. I'm also sharing the file which you can download anyway. So check the Zoom inbox. So I've already shared this with you. Now, let me explain this to you first, okay? What does this mean, or what's the purpose of the template? So we already know the purpose of the template is to build the relationship, describe the characters, describing the characters and actions, and developing the ideas. That's what the language does, okay? Secondly, you don't have to think about English words anymore because eventually you will have memorized these words and then the sentence structures would themselves be created for you. Because if I tell you that, can you talk about, can you talk about 20 seconds about your mobile phone? Yeah. Can you describe some of the features of your mobile phone? Yeah. So if I ask you to do that, what would you do? You'll be like, oh yeah, this is a Samsung mobile phone and it's got a large screen. It's got 3 cameras and it's got S Pen. So what's happening is that the features are already on this. This is a Samsung phone. This has got a large screen. It's got S Pen. These are the features, but it's got this, it has a large screen, it has this, that's where, these are all the English words that you have to think and formulate, right? Doing that takes time and it may result in you hesitating. Template helps you to reduce those hesitations. The template, the way the language is constructed, it is already making up the story for you. That lecture retelling, okay? The semantic of language, the flow and coherence and let's say coherence and flow of information is already being taken care of. So that's the second benefit. The third benefit, and this is also equally important, is that remember we needed to retell our lecture in about 35 seconds or so. Yes. If I simply just say, oh, this lecture is about today, I want to discuss fossil fuel and oil and gas, such as oil and gas. Lecture also said organic matter is buried before it decays. The lecture also highlighted accumulated rains are substantial. And the lecture concluded by saying we must consider fossil fuel as non-renewable resource. If I do that, I may be connecting the dots and maybe speaking in coherent manner, maybe. But what if I simply use simple language, but I only speak for 20 seconds? Because that's how long it could be. So the template also takes care of that time part, okay? Whereby in a very cheeky way, we speak for 35 seconds using some elaborate template sentences. Am I clear? So it's very good if you use this. I'm not saying if you do not use this, this is the end of the world, but this is there to help you. So take the help. There are a lot of ways this template can help. It helps you with your story building. It helps you with your presentation. You don't have to think of words, and it helps you to speak for 30 seconds or 35 seconds. Okay. Now, I want you to also understand what are you doing here. So you see the highlighted parts right here. It says topic, phrase or phrases, or the full sentence has been significantly focused on this specific oration by the speaker. So what this means is your first note, it could be the topic, which is what? Fossil fuel. Or it could be fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gas. So that's a phrase. Or you could say, today I want to discuss fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gas. That's the full sentence. Whatever the topic statement is, you start your answer with that, even if you have sentence. So you can say fossil fuel has been significantly focused on this specific oration by the speaker. Or if you have today I want to talk about fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gas has been significantly focused on this specific oration by the speaker. Now, if I do this, you see I have a full sentence plus I'm adding this add-on. There is a bit of grammatical inconsistencies, sure. But my response to you is there is no grammar mark in written lecture. There is content, pronunciation, and oral fluency. To get good content score, your notes would give you or help you with that. To help you with your fluency and pronunciation is the reason why we're using the template in the first place. So without worrying about adjusting grammar and all that stuff, simply follow the same template over and over again. Fix it so that you don't have to think extra. Am I clear? Guys?
Yes.
We are. Okay. So similarly, that's the reason why I told you to take notes in bullet points so that you can straight away refer to your second bullet point and dump it in that second place. In addition to the initial focal point, it denotes that organic matter is buried before it decays. Again, third sentence, considering the most substantial insights, it can be stated that accumulated remains are substantial. And then lastly, after analyzing the aforementioned key points, we must consider fossil fuel as non-renewable resource was the pivotal remark. You're done. Okay, so what I need you guys to do right now is I'm going to hide this optional sentence for you for now. Okay, for now, it has its own requirement. We'll get to that later. So what I need you guys to do, all of you, is to simply just read these 4 sentences for me, please. Now, just simply say dash has been significantly focused. In addition to the initial focal point, it denotes dash. Yeah, all of you, please unmute yourself, Neha as well. In 3, 2, 1, read aloud.
Dash has been significantly focused on this specific oration by the speaker. In addition to the initial focal point, it denotes that dash. Considering the most substantial insights, it can be stated that dash. After analyzing the aforementioned key points,
that was the pivotal remark.
I could only hear Pallavi and Nabina, I think. Yusuf and Neha, are you guys here? Yusuf? Okay, it's not here maybe. Neha, are you here? Okay, doesn't matter. If you're not interested, we will just have to move along. So guys, now this is what I need you to do. What I need you to do is the notes that you've taken or you're going to take, you are going to from now on use this template to make up that story. So just like the way I have made up is the way you will make up your story. Now remember, I told you, you need to take note from the first part and the last part as well, 100%. What I will do for you now is I will share the WavePad player for you so that you can keep a track of when the speaker starts and when the speaker is ending, so that you can definitely take notes of those 2 points. And in the middle, do your best to take notes of a couple of more points, okay? All right, so be ready with your pen and paper. I will share the screen with you just in a second. Here it is. Okay. Okay, guys. So see, you take notes. You see this red line right here? This is the progress tracker. Okay. So you take notes from definitely from somewhere here. You definitely want to take notes from somewhere here. And in the middle, do your best to take a couple of more notes. Okay. So here it comes, guys. Be ready in 3, 2, 1.
The coffee industry in Vietnam now provides a livelihood for millions of people, mostly around small farms like this of just a few acres. Across the country, farmers like Ho Bon produce a staggering 1.5 million tons of coffee. It's a key export for the country and our #1 source of coffee in Britain. Coffee is one of the most valuable traded goods on earth. Globally, the industry is worth more than £40 billion. It's the single most important tropical commodity traded worldwide, accounting for nearly half of total exports of tropical products.
The crucial year is 1986. That's when the Vietnamese Communist Party had a major meeting. They realised the economy was in a terrible state and they decided to relax the rules and, among other things, start growing and exporting coffee on a massive scale.
The state-planned collective farms were swept away. 500,000 smallholdings emerged in their place. And in the 1990s, coffee production grew at a staggering 30% per year.
Okay, so please unmute yourself and I want you to hold your notes on one hand. Okay, I want you to hold your notes on one hand and then I want you to refer to your notes. You read your notes, the first bullet point, and then you complete the sentence by saying the rest of the template. Coffee industry in Vietnam has been significantly focused on the specific oration by the speaker. In addition to the initial focal point, it denotes that it's the number of source of production, whatever the notes you have. Okay, so here you go, guys. Let's get started in 3, 2, 1. Retail.
Coffee industry provides livelihood for people in Vietnam has been significantly focused on this specific oration by the speaker. In addition to the initial focal point, it denotes that more than 40 million pounds for coffee. Considering the most substantial insight, it can be stated that the crucial year is in 1986, start growing coffee in. After analyzing the aforementioned key points, in 1990, people start to grow 30% of coffee by year was the pivotal remark.
Very good job. Well done, Nabina. Well done. Let's try one more, okay? Let's try one more. I'm going to go ahead and play another recording for you. Take notes.
Okay.
And then you will do a retail lecture using those notes, okay? So be ready.
Yeah.
In 3, 2, 1.
Cacao and chocolate were an important part of Maya culture. There are often images of cacao plants on Maya buildings and art objects. Ruling families drank chocolate at ceremonies, and even poorer members of Mayan society could enjoy the drink once in a while. Historians believe that cacao seeds were also used in marriage ceremonies as a sign of the union between a husband and wife.
The Aztec culture in current-day Mexico also prized chocolate. But the cacao plant could not grow in the area where the Aztecs lived. So they traded to get cacao. They even used cacao seeds as a form of money to pay taxes or give as offerings to the gods. Only the very wealthy people in Aztec societies could afford to drink chocolate because cacao was so valuable. The Aztec ruler Montezuma was believed to have drunk 50 cups of chocolate every day.
Okay, so let's go ahead in 3, 2, 1, retell.
Coca and choca is important in Maya culture has been significantly focused on this specific oration by the speaker. In addition to the initial focal point, it denotes that drink chocolate in ceremonies. Considering the most substantial insight, it can be stated that historian coca seeds also used in marriage ceremony. After analyzing the aforementioned key points, coca was so valuable, believed to drink 50 cups chocolate every day was the pivotal remark.
Awesome. Well done, Navina. So this is what we want to achieve. Now you understand this is a lecture class.
Yeah.
We may have some problems. We are speaking in a flat tone. We can all work on that and by getting the feedbacks. But imagine this. You just solved 4 or 5 questions or 3 4 questions trying to do what you or most likely are expected to do in the exam, just like what you've done here, with a bit of improvement. So you obviously your first objective is to make sure that you memorize the template. Okay, there's one more thing that I want to share with you, so which was the last sentence, right? So the last sentence, I'm sorry, we also have an optional sentence. Okay, now the reason why we have this optional sentence is sometimes we may end up with having very few notes, which is fine because the recordings would be very short. So if I have short recording, I will have less notes. Having less notes, even if you have 3 notes, 3 phrases or sentences or points, is not the end of the world. Those 3 points could be the most important ones, and you can still get maximum scores. However, we still need to speak for 30 to 35 seconds, right? So that optional sentence is going to help you to secure that extra 5 to 7 seconds. So when you say 50 cups of chocolate every day was the pivotal remark, and it's only 26 seconds or 25 seconds, then you say, to conclude the discourse provided by the speaker, the significance of cacao and chocolate is crucial to the subject matter. Okay, or you say like the most important point, to conclude the discourse provided by the speaker, the significance of coffee industry in Vietnam is crucial to the subject matter. To conclude the discourse provided by the speaker, the significance of fossil fuel is crucial to the subject matter. Are you clear?
Yeah.
So let's take one more note. Okay, one last note. And this recording that I will play, listen carefully and understand what the speaker is saying. So don't blindly start writing the first sentence. Okay, understand and find out where I'm giving you a clue already. Okay, and then take the notes. Once you have understood and actually found out the content, maybe you'll have less notes if needed. Use the to conclude the discourse sentence as well. Okay, so use the to conclude the discourse sentence as well for the next one. Okay, so be ready. 3, 2, 1.
I'm a computer science and engineering professor here at Carnegie Mellon, and my research focuses on usable privacy and security. And so my friends like to give me examples of their frustrations with computing systems, especially frustrations related to unusable privacy and security. Excuse me. So passwords are something that I hear a lot about. A lot of people are frustrated with passwords. And it's bad enough when you have to have one really good password that you can remember, but nobody else is going to be able to guess. But what do you do when you have accounts on 100 different systems and you're supposed to have a unique password for each of these systems? It's tough. At Carnegie Mellon, they used to make it actually pretty easy for us to remember our passwords. The password requirement up through 2009 was just that you had to have a password with at least one character. Pretty easy. But then they changed things. And at the end of 2009, they announced that we were going to have a new policy. And this new policy required passwords that were at least 8 characters long, with an uppercase letter, lowercase letter, digit, symbol. You couldn't use the same character more than 3 times, and it wasn't allowed to be in a dictionary.
So the last point was, it wasn't allowed to be in the dictionary. Yeah, it wasn't allowed to be in the dictionary. So please, all of you, unmute yourself now. Pallavi, Zeliana, Pallavi, here we go. All of us together in 3, 2, 1, retell.
The research focuses on usable privacy and security has been significantly focused on this specific oration by the speaker. A lot of people frustrated with passwords. In addition to this initial focus.
Pallavi, let's start again. All of you, let's start again. You use the template, okay? So you say, usable privacy and security has been significantly focused on this specific oration by the speaker. In addition to the initial focal point, it denotes that people use password. Okay, so start again in 3, 2, 1. Retail.
Research focused on usable privacy and security has been significantly focused on this specific oration by the speaker. In addition to initial focal point, it denotes that a lot of people frustrated with passwords. Considering the most substantial insights, it can be stated that you're supposed to have unique password for each of this system. After analyzing the aforementioned key points,
2009 we have new policy.
It wasn't allowed to be in the dictionary. Was a peer
the significance of was not allowed to be in the dictionary is crucial to the subject matter.
Okay, well done, guys. Thank you. Now, obviously, your first and foremost objective is to memorize the template. Okay, please memorize the template properly. As I said, I've already shared the template with you on the chat box. I'm also going to go ahead and share the entire screen with you so that you can also find out where you can locate the template on the system. So if you go to P.T.E materials and scroll down, you'll see it says all template by P.T.E Study Center. You'll find the template there as well. Okay, but the template has to be in your mind first. So make sure you memorize the template. Then what you should also do is, now that you know what needs to be done, you have to take, or you have to work a lot on your note taking. On the same, let's say, under the same P.T.E material page, if you scroll down right here, it says Retail Lecture 156 audio self-training audio bank. So what we have here is recordings for, let's say, repeated exam questions. Okay, now these are just raw recordings, okay, from SoundCloud. We've uploaded it. You have to work on your note taking. So this is you practicing note taking. We do not recommend students to use any softwares to get instant feedback for speaking. Okay, so it's not like you're going to take notes and record and then provide an answer and somebody's going to tell you, or a system is going to give you percentage scores. No, it's not that. But you work by yourself. Then once you have sort of memorized the template and you've taken lots of notes, then I would recommend you to join the Live Class Portal Speaking Feedback. Okay, because human review is going to give you clear idea of where you need to work on. A percentage of score may not necessarily solve your issues. Okay. Using softwares to get speaking feedback may be very misleading. It might be either misguide you and give you false hope, or it might just demotivate you. Okay, that's not what we want for you. Okay, so practice note taking, memorize the template, practice by yourself. At least practice 30 to 40 note taking. Okay, and Retail Lecture. Then you start joining the Live Class Portal Speaking Feedback. Am I clear? Is everyone clear? Any questions, guys?
No.
No question. Okay. So in that case, let's go ahead and let's talk about summarized spoken text. Yes.
Can you just show me the template, that one, previous one?
It's already on your chat box, on the Zoom chat box. It's already there. You can download it from there.
Actually, like if our lecture is very long, do we need to include this optional one as well?
No, Nabina, I told you this is optional. You are not paying attention. I told you if you have, your job is to speak and retell your notes within 4 sentences. Okay. Now, after finishing all the notes within 4 sentences, if you only spoke for 25 seconds, then you use this optional sentence. I think you were sleeping when I was telling you that. Is that clear now?
Yes, clear now.
Yes, yeah, and as I said, the template is already provided on the chat box. Just download it. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and let's talk about summarized spoken text. Summarized spoken text is the first question item on the speaking section. You will be solving 2 to 3 summarized spoken texts. Okay. When you get to the question, this is how your screen looks like. You have some instruction written at the top. You have a time bar, and at the bottom you have a box where you will need to write a summary report for the recording that you will be listening to. Okay. Now, the idea is exactly just like what you did for Retail Lecture, which is listen to the recording, pay attention and take notes. Once the recording has finished, you type up your summary report on that box. To do that, the system would give you exactly 10 minutes. Now, this 10 minutes is locked down, okay? What this means is you'll be solving 2 to 3 questions, right? But let's say on your first question, you spend 8 minutes and you finished. And you're hoping that you can click next and add that saved 2 minutes towards the next question. Well, that does not happen, okay? Even if you click next before the time runs out, the system would still shave off 10 minutes from the original time. So, be smart. Since even if you finish early, and since the system is going to take away 10 minutes anyway, use the entire 10 minutes, revise, check for spelling and grammar and all that stuff, okay? Each question is worth 10 marks, all right? And these 10 marks are actually divided into 5 subcategories. Each category is worth 2 marks. We should also remember that summarize spoken text contributes scores towards your writing module as well, okay? And the contribution is actually a bit more towards your writing module. So summarize spoken text contributes to about 12% to 15% of your listening scores. It contributes to about 15% to 18% of your writing scores, okay? So we need to make sure that all the writing elements are being taken care of. But let's understand the scoring one at a time. So firstly, let's talk about content. Content are all the important points that you have to take notes of, okay? If you manage to grab all the important points, which are going to be anywhere between 4 or 5, maybe 3 to 5, maybe 6, usually it's 3 to 5. If you grab all those important points, you'll get 2 out of 2. If you grab all those important points and write a good summary with correct grammar and all that stuff. If you miss out on 1 or 2 points here and there, that's still okay because you lose 1 mark. But if you miss out on all the important points and you just have examples or descriptions, then you get 0 for content. Or if you write something that is wrong, that does not match with the recording, or something that is your own opinion, then you may end up getting 0 for misrepresentation. Now, the bad news is if you get 0 in content, the rest of the task is 0, total 0, okay? Rest of the marking guidelines, you don't get marked, okay? So you cannot get 0. Good news is you already know how to get 1 mark. That is, if you get the topic statement from the very beginning, and if you get the concluding statement from the end, this is definitely securing 1 mark for you. How to find out what are the other ways to locate important points, I will talk about it just in a second, okay? So use those indicators and clues to help you make better judgments on note taking, okay? Secondly, form. Form is the length of your answer. So first and foremost, please understand, this is a 1 paragraph summary. 1 paragraph, okay? Not multiple sentences. So don't write in bullet points. It's a 1 paragraph summary, but you'll be using multiple sentences, not 1 sentence, but multiple sentences. Maybe 4 sentences is standard, okay? So try and see if you can write 4 sentences because we also have to stay within a limit of words. So our standard should be 50 to 70 words, okay? We want to write a summary within 50 to 70 words. If you go beyond 70, below 100, and below 50, above 40, you lose 1 mark. Anything outside that, you'll get total 0, okay? If you also write your summary in block letters, you'll also get 0. Use common sense, okay? And obviously, if you write multiple sentences in different, each sentence you write as bullet points, you get 0. Now, if you get 0 for form also, you'd get 0 for the entire answer, even if you get all the contents. So you cannot get 0 for content and for form, okay? You have to get marked. Is everyone clear with these 2 requirements? Now, the good news is you don't need to count the word. On the system itself, there will be a word counter, okay? Any questions with these 2 guys? No? Good job. Let's go ahead and let's talk about grammar, vocabulary, and spelling. So you got 2 marks each again, starting with grammar. Now, the good news is you don't have any specific grammar requirements yet. So there isn't any requirements for you to construct a complex compound sentence like summarize written text and essay, okay? You don't need to do that. Simpler sentences would be more than enough. However, the topic has to be in a form of a topic statement, okay? So it has to be in the form of a general statement. You cannot simply just introduce the topic, just say the lecture was about this, okay? Don't do that. Write a complex sentence to introduce the topic, okay? That's the reason why we have a bunch of options for you as template language, okay? But the rest of the sentences, even if you write simple sentences, more than enough. Just use connectors Additionally, moreover, furthermore, that's more than enough, because there is, when you use these connectors, there is cohesion and flow of thought. Okay. But the first sentence has to be a general statement. Don't just introduce a main idea, like a topic, just like a main idea. Okay. Again, I will help you with that. Then you have 2 marks for grammar. I'm sorry, 2 marks for vocabulary. Well, vocabulary is your appropriate choice of words. Now, the good news is, unlike summarize a written text where you had to use synonyms for 2 words of the content, you do not need to do this on summarize spoken text, because you can use template language, which can showcase your grammar authority. Now, the template that you used for written lecture, you can use it here also, no problem. But just make sure that this time the grammar is taken care of. So if you have to readjust the template language a little bit, or if you have to readjust the notes a little bit, do it. But make sure that the sentences themselves are grammatically correct and affluent. Okay. But hey, if you use the template, you're definitely going to get vocabulary scores. But I want you to understand this. What I don't want you to tell me is, oh, I got 0, your template is not working. That's something that I don't want to hear. Okay. Do you know why? Because the template does not give you any marks on its own. You got to make sure that you get the content, plus you write your summary within 50 to 70 words in 1 paragraph. So those are the only two reasons you can get 0, not because of template. If you get those 2 done and you use the template grammatically correctly, you're going to get your vocabulary scores, no issues. Okay. Lastly, you've got scores for spelling. So spelling is very strict for all the tasks. If you make 1 spelling mistake, you lose 1 mark. If you make 2 spelling mistakes, you lose 2 marks. Simple as that. So make sure this does not happen, okay? And you also need to use a uniform spelling convention. What that means is you either use British or you use American convention. Do not mix and match them, okay? That's it, guys. These are the 5 scoring criteria. So I actually want to, I want you to think it in a simpler manner when you start practicing summary spoken text. So make sure you start with the basic. That is, have I written my summary within 50 to 70 words? Do I have at least the topic and the conclusion? Did I write 50 to 70 words or not in 1 paragraph? Are my sentences grammatically correct? Even if they're simple, does it showcase subject verb object agreement? Did I use some fancy words with the help of the template, and did I spell things correctly or not? Because believe me, it's not the content that the students struggle so much, or they think like, oh, it's difficult for me. Well, sure, I accept it. It could be difficult, but you can get at least 1 out of 2 for content, but maximize all the other score and get 9 out of 10. I would say it's very good. But what we find when we review the mock tests are that there's a lot of grammatical mistakes, spelling mistakes, and all that stuff. So you want to avoid those first. Take care of your typing and things like that, okay? All right, is everyone clear with the marking criteria? Does anyone have any question?
No.
No questions, awesome. So let's go ahead and let's fill up the gaps. So we wanted to take notes from the very beginning. We also wanted to take notes from the end, right at the end. So the introduction and the concluding remarks. Let's focus on some of the ways that we can look at some important points within the middle of the lecture. Okay, one good way to find out what's an important point is focusing on repeated natured information. What that means is, let's say you're listening to a recording, and as you're listening, you find out some information getting mentioned more than once. That information is important. You have to take notes of that, okay? Now, we're not talking about just simple grammar words. If and gets mentioned 10 times, don't write down and, okay, or the. We're talking about relevant information, okay? So let's do that. I'm going to play your recording right now. Your job is simply just to listen to the recording with the objective of finding if any information is getting mentioned more than once or not. If you come across that, please take a note of that only that, okay? So here we go. Be ready. Listen to this in 3, 2, 1.
Declarative memory is a broad term which can include both episodic and semantic memory. An easy way to remember declarative memory is that you declare or communicate your memory to another. For example, in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. That is a declarative tidbit that some of you may have learned in school. 2 other distinctions in the types of memory are explicit memory and implicit memory. Some psychologists refer to declarative memory as a type of explicit memory. Again, this is our ability to consciously recall facts and events. So we would say in some cases that semantic and episodic memories are types of explicit memory. We're able to describe and recall events and things that we've learned in the past.
Okay, so focusing on this lecture, we definitely know that memory is the key point right here, but more importantly, some important points associated with the memory are, let's say, declarative memory. Yeah, we had explicit memory that was repeated a few times. We also have towards the end semantics. We had semantics, and right towards the end we had episodic memory, right? So I would say with regards to focusing on the relevance, these were probably the important points that were repeated multiple times. Now, I'm not saying you have to get all of them today, okay? In fact, today, even if you did not get any, that's not a point. But what I need you to understand is when you're sitting down and practicing and working on your note taking, if you get across any words that are repeated, that is important and you have to work on taking notes of that. Okay. Second clue. Second clue is using contrasting discourse markers. Now, this is something that we use in summarize written text as well. That is, whenever we listen and we come across the speaker using a contrasting discourse marker. Contrasting discourse markers, well, discourse markers are connectors, connecting words, okay? They're joiners. They're used to maintain coherence and flow of information, okay? What we want to turn our attention to are the contrasting natured ones, opposing words, yeah? So please make a note of these four. They are the most commonly used contrasting discourse markers, okay? All right, so, but, yet, however, on the other hand, these are the four most commonly used contrasting discourse markers. What I need you to do is, I need you to listen to a recording and just like the one that you did previously, and just listen and understand what the recording is all about. And if you come across a contrasting discourse marker, say all of a sudden you hear, but, I need you to take notes of the information that comes after it. Now make sure that the notes that you take, they are complete and meaningful, okay? Here we go, be ready. Let me play you the recording in 3, 2, 1.
Every aspect of the business is changing. What is healthy food is changing. What do people want to eat and drink is changing. How should products be labeled has not been defined. There's no authority that defines it. Supply chains are globalizing, yet traceability and safety standards have not been established. There's an NGO in every corner. So there's somebody there calling us out when we don't do things right, but then there's no standard to look at in terms of what we need to do right. The retail environment is changing, whether it's the emergence of Walmart in the 90s and the year 2000s, or now the hard discounters and the emergence of e-commerce. Everything about the world is changing. And then, right here in Silicon Valley, all of the best and brightest that we want in our companies are being recruited by these startups. So we have a tough time recruiting the right talent to run our companies. I'm speaking to all of you. So I think what happens is that we are facing unprecedented change in our business models. And on top of that, we have to globalize, but the world is a tough place right now. We've got economic volatility, macroeconomic crises in many, many places, political upheaval. So I think companies like ours, if you really want to keep performing, you've almost got to change your model all the time.
Okay, so let's listen, and I'm just going to fast forward to the first place where she used a contrasting discourse marker. Okay, so let's listen to this.
Supply chains are globalizing, yet.
There you go. She says yet. Now, what she says after the yet is what we want to take notes of. Okay, so let's go ahead and listen.
Traceability and safety standards have not been established.
So we need to take note of the entire phrase, which is traceability and safety standards have not been established. Now, you can take traceability have not been established or has not been established or safety standards has not been established. You can do that. But what you cannot simply write down is traceability and safety standard. That's just keywords. It's not meaningful. You could have written down no traceability and safety standards. I could have still accepted that because
there's an NGO.
Okay, so let's listen a bit
in
more.
every corner. So there's somebody there calling us out when we don't do things right, but then there's no standard.
Right here she says, but there is no standard. So there is no standard. It's an easy phrase to catch. Now, well, depends. Would it be easy or difficult? It would depend on your note taking or on your training. because now you know that you have to focus on but yet, however. It is tricky right now, it would be. That's because your brain, you have not coached yourself to pay attention to this but yet, however, because these words, the native speakers do not stress on grammar words like these. So you got to train your ears to wait and pick this information very quickly. Okay. This recording had a couple of more. I hope that you may have managed at least one. If you did, even if you did not, I hope that you understand that whenever you are practicing, you work on taking notes of the information that comes after discourse marker. Are we all on the same page, guys? Any questions? No? Good.
No.
And there's one more voice signal that we can use, and that is the speaker's tone, okay, or sentence level stress. So what this means is when the speaker is talking, when the speaker really wants to sort of make a point, he may emphasize on that point. He may stress on that particular point. So what happens is when you stress or emphasize, the tone changes. So if he's really emphasizing, the tone could be going high intonation. If he's really slowing things down, you know, the tone drops, the speed drops. That could also work as an indicator that it is important. Or if it's excited, if there is excitement in the voice, that excitement could also work as that the speaker is sharing some important points. Okay, so we use this change of tone and expression to help us locate important points. Okay, now as soon as the recording begins, your brain adjusts to two things. One, the loudness of the speaker. Number two is the speed of the speaker. Okay, so when you see the change or a dramatic change, such as stress or emphasis or slowing down of the speed or excitement, you can use these changes as indicator of important points. And obviously take note of phrases. Okay, so here it comes, guys. Listen to this, and your job is simply to pay attention and see if you can locate the change in the speaker's tone. Okay, all right, pay attention. 3, 2, 1.
Quantum mechanics has a fairly antagonistic relationship with general relativity. You see, in Einstein's general relativity, he envisions that space is curved, but it's nice and gently curved. You know, imagine a bowling ball on a mattress, a nice gentle curve. Quantum mechanics, because of something called the uncertainty principle, tells us that things can't be nice and gentle when you go down into the microscopic realm. In the microscopic realm, things are fundamentally uncertain, which means that they fluctuate. There's chaos. There is tumultuous behavior happening in the microscopic realm. And it's this jittery, tumultuous behavior in the micro realm that conflicts with the nice, gentle behavior of Einstein's theory in the macro realm. So the laws of the small, quantum physics, the laws of the big, general relativity, really smash into one another. They don't come together in any harmonious manner in the conventional way of looking at things.
Okay, so let me play it again for you, and let's just listen and follow. Okay, let's listen to this.
Quantum mechanics has a fairly antagonistic relationship with general relativity.
So right now your brain is sort of adjusted to the speaker's tone and the speed. Yeah, he's saying quantum mechanics and general relativity, they have an antagonistic, so opposing relationship, right? So let's go further.
You see, in Einstein's general relativity, he envisions that space is curved, but it's nice and gently curved.
You see right here, he says in general relativity, space is curved, but it's nice and gently curved. That nice and gently curved, he's so excited to share, right? There you go. That can work. That phrase right there can be an indicator that it's important. Okay, let's go ahead and let's listen a bit more.
You know, imagine a bowling ball on a mattress, a nice gentle curve. Quantum mechanics, because of something called the uncertainty principle, tells us that things can't be nice and gentle when you go.
Right here, you see, now quantum mechanics on the other hand, things can't be nice and gentle. Again, there is that emphasis and expression. Yeah, so there we go. That's another way to look at main idea.
Go down into the microscopic realm. In the microscopic realm, things are fundamentally uncertain, which means that they fluctuate. There's chaos. There is tumultuous behavior happening.
You see, he's really animated now. In the microscopic realm, there is chaos, there is uncertainty, there is tumultuous behavior. They all mean the same. So even if you manage, there is chaos, that phrase is substantial. Okay. let's go a bit further.
In the microscopic realm. And it's this jittery, tumultuous behavior in the micro realm that conflicts with the nice, gentle behavior of Einstein's theory in the macro realm.
So this is something that he said in the earlier part, right?
So the laws of the small, quantum physics, the laws of the big, general relativity, really smash into one another.
There you go. This is the place where he is really animated. So those two laws really smash with one another. If you get really smash with one another, that's the most important point. So remember how the speaker started? If you simply get that this lecture is showing the opposite sides of, or let's say the opposites of general relativity and quantum mechanics, and what the speaker found out is that they really smash with one another, you will most likely get full points. Yeah, because in written lecture summarized spoken text, it's not about the quantity of your notes. Okay, it's not like the more notes you have, the better marks you get. No, it's the quality of your notes. Okay, so how do you know what's your quality? Well, you get the topic statement from the beginning, you get the concluding statement from the end, and in the middle you use these voice clues and signals to locate all the main ideas. Okay, so guys, obviously this it's not limited to just these signals. You know, you can still just pay attention and find out some decent points that the speaker is trying to make by simply understanding it, but you can use these to locate as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now, guys, is I'm going to go ahead and play a recording for you and try and use all these clues and signals to help you take a note, and then I will share some sample answers of how a summary should be written using the template. Okay, so get ready with your pen and paper, guys. I'll share the screen as well with you so that you can look at when it's starting and ending. All right, so here it starts in 3, 2, 1.
About 20 years ago, Kent Anger and Barry Johnson came up with 750 chemicals that could harm the brain during development. Nobody has since then dared to update that number. It's just a guess. Today, there has to be more than 1,000 if it was 750 20 years ago. But the problem is also that we have put too little emphasis in this type of research. For example, it has taken so far the OECD 10 years to devise a battery of tests that they could recommend for systematic testing of chemicals for developmental neurotoxicity. That panel, that battery, has not yet been completed and authorized by OECD. So it's taking way, way, way too long because it is complicated, but there is so much at stake. Children are just losing IQ points and losing concentration span, memory, or motor functions. But in the present world where there's so much emphasis on knowledge and brain functions, this can also translate into dollars. The EPA has calculated every time a child loses one IQ point because of chemical pollution, it costs society something like $8,000 or $10,000.
Okay, so excuse me. Now we've used these voice clues and signals to help us take notes. Now what we need to do is write a 1-paragraph summary. Now the recommendation is that you write a summary within 4 sentences. So if you write 4 sentences using all your information, you should be able to be within 50 to 70 words. Okay, so we have divided the template into these 4 parts. Now when you write a summary, make sure it's one paragraph. Okay, so as I've already told you before as well, so for the introduction, rather than just starting with some basic language, don't, you know, this one is about brain damaging chemicals, right? Don't just say the lecture is about brain damaging chemicals. Don't do that. Okay. Excuse me. We recommend that you start a sentence using some kind of template language, which is going to help you to write a complex sentence. Okay. For your sentence 2, 3, and conclusion sentence, do whatever works for you. Even simple connectors would work as long as the sentences are following basic grammar requirements such as subject verb object agreement, excuse me, and let's say proper grammar structure. Okay. Obviously, the optional sentence was for written lecture. your summary, try to write it in 4 words, okay? Sorry, 4 sentences. So as a demonstration, I have a couple of sample answers here. Okay, I have a couple of sample answers here. So the version 1, it's got more, let's say, complete notes. Version 2, it's got, let's say, keywords or key phrases. That's why I have used more template language, okay? Oopsie, just lower this one here, this way. Have a read, please. Okay, so regardless of which one you use, you will still be representing your notes, okay, properly. Excuse me. Is everyone clear, guys? How you write your summarized spoken text answer? Does anyone have any question?
No.
Okay, now that we know what needs to be done, guys, you can put things into practice using iWords. iWords is the best software for you to practice your listening, writing, and reading module questions, okay? When you get to the iWords, you'll be able to write a good summary. The benefit you get is that iWords would give you suggested answer and it'd give you some indicative scores, okay? Also, it will help you look at what kind of mistakes you're making. So make sure you are using iWords. Don't start immediately. I would want you to practice retail lecture more, 30, 40 retail lectures, okay? Get better with note taking first. Practice using the template for retail lecture. Then once you're comfortable, then go and check your summary writing using iWords, okay? And get some work checked out. Is everyone okay? Understanding? That's it, guys. If you don't have any questions, thank you for joining the lecture class today. And good luck with your practice, especially with retail lecture. It takes a lot of effort. And make sure you do so practice a lot, okay? Thank you very much, guys. Good luck.